Well, it's 5:30, so we'll call to order the regular school board meeting of the Madison Central School District. It's Monday, June 10th. And Mr. Brooks will record our members present or absent. Mr. Miller is joining us via phone tonight. And we're expecting Mrs. Cecil and Mr. Hanemichael shortly. So, but we do have an agenda, or a quorum, so we'll move on to approval of the, nope, we better do our Pledge of Allegiance next. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next tonight, there was a minor adjustment in the personnel actions, an additional resignation, an additional hire. Those will get added when we talk about that in the consent agenda. Other than that, I believe the agenda is correct as printed, so I'd entertain a motion from someone in Rapid City to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Schultz. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare agenda has passed. Consent agenda items 7 through 9. We have our minutes of our regular board meeting, which was held on May 13th. Mr. Nelson and Mrs. Schultz and I went through the bills. It's bill time again as that folder gets thicker and thicker as we go. Anything that you folks saw? I saw nothing either. Our financials then are listed on the website. Another good month for our health fund. On there. Then on to Mr. Jorgensen with personnel actions.
Personnel actions for tonight. Adam Erickson is high school resignation as high school English teacher. Also with his coaching duties. Stacy Anderson, resignation of varsity girls basketball coach. Joy Boone, resignation high school paraprofessional. And Jacob Schreck, resignation as a head varsity debate coach, all at the end of the year. And then also a new resignation was Brian Nolan, elementary custodian. That would be effective June 14th, actually. Then a request to hire for 1920. Chad White as middle school PE and careers teacher at $42,500 to replace Jerry Yonke, who was reassigned to high school PE teacher. Chad White is assistant varsity freshman boys basketball coach, level 3. 4 years of experience, $3,114. Nicole Troxel is high school English teacher at $43,500. And head varsity debate, level 3, step 0 at $3,114. And then when we added would be Margaret Scott, elementary custodian. With differential, it would be $13.15 per hour. And then change to the pay for 2019-20 technology coordinator, raise the base pay of $1 per hour.
Okay. So that takes care of consent items. I would entertain a motion to approve those, and we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Okay, Mrs. Schultz has the motion.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Hanemichael has the second. Further questions or discussion? So we're fully staffed. No, we have one elementary opening yet?
No, we're fully staffed with the exception of English second language,
Okay.
half-time position, and then some coaching positions yet as
Okay.
well to fill.
Pretty good position to be in at this point in the year.
Then, okay, and then we'll probably have some title aids here shortly.
Okay. Any other discussion on the consent agenda items? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that that has passed. Item number 10 then, approval of an open enrollment application, 20-1.
Received an open enrollment application. In reviewing the application, the student is currently placed in another district placement. So again, the student's placed in our district. It should be the responsibility of the district where the family resides to cover that cost. So for that reason, I would recommend to the board that we deny this open enrollment application from it becoming an out-of-district placement cost for our district.
So we have a recommendation from the administration to deny the open enrollment application 20-1. Someone wish to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Mr. Hanamichael with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Schultz. Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that the open enrollment 20-1 was denied. Hearing of delegations, I don't think we have any, so we'll move on to administrator reports.
Graduation ceremony was on the 19th, and I thought that went very well, and so congrats to our graduates as they move on to the next phase of their lives. Also congrats to our girls golf team placing 4th at the state golf meet. They did a great job. My Maxwell 3rd, Kelsey Gustav 18th, Elizabeth Ellingson 30th, Allison Canty 64th, and Jim Wobbin 90th. And also congrats to coaches Joey Lissinger and Bud Postma. Just a reminder that on the evening of June 12th, law enforcement will be conducting a training exercise at the high school around 6 p.m. for a couple hours. I just want the public to know that when they see a number of law enforcement first responder vehicles at the school, it's simply a pre-planned law enforcement training. As such, there will be a push notification that goes out on the phone app, and there will also be a call that goes out just to let people know that it's a planned training going on that night. So when they see a number of vehicles here, they'll know there's a reason for it. Summer food service started on the 3rd, I believe it was, and I think you said day 1 it was about 80 kids, and the next day it was 90 kids, so I guess we don't have a number yet from the next couple days, but so started off with a good momentum anyway. I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add to that or not, Mitchell.
Sounds like it's about 15 above what we averaged last year so far.
Good.
So that's good. Current open staffing positions, mentioned a little bit earlier, a .5 ESL instructor, and we're currently taking applications. We've got some applications for that. Head girls basketball, middle school volleyball, middle school girls basketball. When I looked down at the end of last week on the ASBSD teacher placement website, there were still well over 200 teaching openings in the state as of about 5 days ago. And then just a reminder, the ASBSD and SASD joint convention for school board members and administrators will be held in Sioux Falls in August, on Thursday the 8th and Friday the 9th at the Sioux Falls Convention Center. And I believe if we register prior to July 15th, I think it is, it's a little bit less of a cost to the district. So if you think you would be able to attend that in August, let Mr. Brooks know and we'll get you registered. Again, the dates for that are August 8th, Thursday, August 8th, and Friday, the 9th.
I think both Mr. Bundy and Mrs. Kappeman have indicated that they're planning to attend. I plan to attend. I don't think I have much choice on that one.
I would like to attend if I could.
We just can't sit together.
No?
Anything else? Mitch, you got anything?
Ask Joel a question. So, are people taking advantage of the arrangement with East Dakota Transit?
I haven't had a call from Scott.
Okay.
We set it up that if that was gonna work, or if they were getting overloaded, then they were gonna let us know.
Okay.
Haven't heard anything, so I don't
Okay.
know that it's being utilized a lot. Because,
One day we're at 2.
okay,
Well,
because
there you
they didn't have another driver available, so we said if there got to be an issue for them, to let us know, and then we would see if we could figure out something out of
go.
it.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? If not, on to number 13. Cotton, you're not superstitious, are you?
No.
All right. Middle school handbook changes. You have the floor,
This
sir.
was year 13, and it was a difficult one. A good year, but it was hard. So, in front of you, you have what I call the change sheet. So the first change we're going to make is, in our handbooks, I'm just going to add for what we call a commitment statement. Gonna try something different. We've always had the students and the staff sign it. They go through it during first week of school. They go through every bit of it. And we're gonna ask the parents to sign off on it now too, just to make sure that they understand, they looked at it at least. Maybe if they didn't, well, that's kind of their fault then. It does make another collection piece, which is more difficult sometimes to get these things back. But we will, I think we're gonna try it, and the idea is that they just, I'll present it to, at the parent meeting to them that, you know, here's a sheet that you need to sign. We'll go through a few things, but then I'll explain to them how to find it, where to go look at, what things they should look at. I'll have a list of things for them to do, things that kind of happen during the school year. So that's one change. Page 6 then. Really all I did here was I just cut out a few things and put a link to the daily schedule, to the other schedules. We have our daily schedule there, and then all the other schedules, 2-hour schedules. We're now going to do something a little bit different next year on Fridays. We're calling them Fantastic Fridays. Fridays are where we have a full week. We're gonna have a full, we'll see all the kids on Fridays instead of just Friday being a maroon day or gold day like it normally is. Now we'll see every day, every Monday will be a gold.
Oh,
Every Wednesday will be a gold. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Fridays will be a day where I look forward to our staff using our NWA data to close gaps, stretch kids, look for ways to catch up kids, and they'll see every kid for 45 minutes. So they'll get a chance to, then one more time. I think it'd be good for them to see it 3 times versus sometimes only twice a week. So this is something that we'll see. High school's doing a little something the same way, so we're gonna be lined up a little bit with them. So I'm excited to see how it goes. Staff, we did a run through in April or somewhere, and they really liked it.
you said on full weeks.
On
So
full
what-
weeks. So out of the 35 weeks of school, probably 27 of them. So where, you know, like the first, I think our first one's not until like September 13th. Because, so if there's Memorial Day on Monday, Friday will be we'll start on.
Oh,
Does that
okay.
make sense?
Yep,
Yeah.
What we'll do, if we have a snow day in the middle of one of those, Friday will go away.
okay. Makes
So,
sense.
yeah. If we have 2, then we'll call on Mr. Jordan, so he's on the schedule. So. All right, so we'll jump down to page 7. All I simply did here was move, for medication was kind of at the back of the handbook. You just went by.
Back up, Steve.
Was there?
Just there you go, right there.
Oh.
All I did is move that to the front, up into the alphabetically ordered. I think it's one of those things that we're seeing more and more of. Kids are walking into school with prescription medicine, they forget to bring them to the office, parents don't. They're not doing anything wrong with it, that's not my point. Point being, we just need to be sure that they understand that there could be a consequence to that. You have to do this right, you have to bring it to the office. And so at the front of the handbook, it'll get covered a little quicker, parents can see it a little bit earlier in the handbook. I'm hoping it'll just be better for them. It's not a big deal, just move it to the front. Page 8. This is just, I just moved this again, just took the high schools, and it just matches what the high school says, and I put it in alphabetical order again as well. We had something on dangerous weapons in the handbook, but I just cleaned it up and made it just like the high schools, and put it in alphabetical order, so it's just, again, lays out what that is, what policy that is. Real simple. Steve, down just a little bit further, if you will, right there. Electronic devices, I added a sentence at the very bottom in red. The Madison Central School District will not collect monetary damages from another family due to intentional or unintentional damage to your electronic device. These are things that happen on a school bus, for example. Kids are digging around and they grab some of the kids' headphones and they break them. The parent says, "Hey, I want my pound of flesh and I want my reimbursement for my headphones." I don't know the value of these things. I don't want to be the person to judge the value of these things, so I usually just tell parents, that's just not the role we play. And so this now lays it out that that's not a role we play. So that's what that sentence is about. 9 and 10 then, Steve. As those of you who have middle school kids, oh yeah, just emergency school closings are just added. Smartphone users can download the new app and then how that goes, so that's just an add-in. Let's see, 9 and 10, there you go, immunization. This is all new. As you know, 6th graders are required to come in with certain two immunizations. So this just lays out what they are and when they have to be done. and kind of what happens if they have 45 days to get it done. That's an issue we run into almost every single year, where I've had to basically go right to the house and say, you've got to do an immunization by tomorrow, or your kid can't come to school anymore. And so now it's in writing, we have it more effective, it's in our policy, or in our handbooks, parents will understand it, I think, better, or at least I can point to it as being a document where we're not the ones being the bad guy here, it's the rules, and it's the way it is, so I need them to take care of it. Most parents take care of it, but it's not like in the old days, where I used to be able to run over to Steve's house, grab his kids, and he's out farming, and say, can I take him up to the health clinic? Yeah, you can do that. Can't do that anymore. Those rules have all changed. Parents have to take care of all that kind of thing. And for some of our parents, it's become, it's hard for them to get that done. I haven't heard if we're doing the flu clinic or not at an immunization, immunization clinic. What's that?
Hasn't been determined yet.
Yeah, so if that happens, we're ready. So that's what that is. Go ahead, or something, so page, just scroll on down to page 10 now, under permission to leave school. Right, there you go. All I simply put there is all students are required to use the school phone to call a parent or guardian for reasons unless authorized by a staff member. All students are required to come to the office to be dismissed by school personnel if they are leaving due to illness or emergency. The cell phone has made it very easy for kids to go to the bathroom, I don't feel good, and we've had it where kids walk right out the door to the car. So, and we find out in the next period that they didn't check out with us. So even though I tell them 100 million times, I tell parents 100 million times, come to the phone office and let us check them out, go through our process. They just forget. And they're racing through lunch or whatever it might be, they just come out and get their kids. I typically ask them, and I see that this is a lot, some people have actually put this in their handbook, I didn't go this far, but some are even saying, if they don't, let us check and see if there's a temperature of 100. If they have 100, they're going home. If it's under 100, they're staying, let's leave them in school. And I do that quite often. I do say, can I check them for a temperature? If they don't have one, would you let them stay? And 99% of parents will say, yeah, absolutely yes, if they aren't already on their way to school. The kid beats us to the parent. That makes sense? So most of the time, they're just upset about something that happened in school versus really being sick. So we really work hard to try to keep them in school. But this just kind of lays it out for me to have a little protection when I have to talk to that parent. Okay, 21, page 17, sorry, Steve. Be down there, ways now. Yeah. This is in our discipline. So number 21 there. All I did, guys, is I just made some changes from what it says up there where it was just ISS at one point. I just added the ISS-OSS combination. I want to have that right. It gives a little bit more sense of urgency that this is a problem, that you need to take a look, pay a little closer attention to this as a parent. I just wanted to recognize that. And so that's what I really did on both of those, 21 and 22, is I just added that combination.
Or combination, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the handbook changes for me. Not that anything's happened, nothing like that. It's just simply, I feel like it gives me a little bit more work space.
And every situation's different.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
And all we do is acknowledge the fact that we have seen it and move forward with it. Thank you, Dr. Cook.
You bet.
Better than August.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. Mitch, I'll catch yours on the replay tonight, so I'll be in the morning.
You want to replay?
Yeah, I'll let you know in the morning what I thought.
Next, we will conduct our proposed budget hearing, 5:45. We're within 4 minutes. That comes off of your time, Mitch.
Okay, I'll get started. So what I did is I kind of separated out the funds so it's a little easier to view, less scrolling. But as you see here, I'll use my mouse to kind of indicate the top portion of each one is the revenue. So here's like our driver's ed is our first one where we use. It's student charges are what funds driver's ed, and then what we pay in salaries, vehicle usage and maintenance and supplies. You can kind of see 18.5 is the proposed budget for the driver's ed. Now just kind of keep clicking through.
Yep.
And then size varies just depending on how much I can get on a sheet. This is the food service fund. Sales to students, there'll be a recommendation later, maybe leave rates the same if we can. So a lot of this stayed very, very much the same. We did decrease our rate last year of our a la carte, so that's why there's a little bit of a decrease. Our reimbursements for federal will go up. So it's an estimated budget of $605,000. On the expenditure side, we have some supervision that we pay from the food service fund. This is our food service contract, along with some other maintenance pieces, or preventive maintenance pieces, our repairs and maintenance. You can see some of that. So you can see why we're looking for equipment, our commodities, we're getting commodities, purchasing of equipment, and then depreciation. In the food service fund, it's ran as a business, and so there's depreciation of assets is recorded. So that's the food service fund. Any questions, just stop and ask. Not a lot of changes to those. The bond redemption fund, not really a lot of changes to this one either. The fund payment changes a little bit each year. The top portion is what we'll get in revenue, so there's our estimated taxes received. We'll add a little bit to fund balance. A negative number adds to fund balance, where in the past year, a positive number took away from. You see what our payments are for this next year. This is the one we levy on its own. So $432,815. That's for the high school bond fund. The pension fund, looking different last few years because there's no more taxes levied on it. Everything comes straight off fund balance. So what's in fund balance, our estimated projections that will be right around this $256,000 of fund balance out and pay forward. We'll estimate in this year that we'll pay out that amount. So it's pretty simple, straightforward this year.
And that's showing that because of the negotiated agreement,
Yeah.
that we'll zero that out at that point in time.
Yeah, but the last year of that. The special education fund, the one that's in the orange there, that's the state formula. There's a state formula that gives so much per child per category. And then in that formula, there's the ad valorem taxes and then the state portion. And those two make up that formula. The rest of this is mostly local dollars, and then this bottom parts are federal dollars. This budget shows that we use about $194,000 in fund balance to meet our expense obligations. So then we'll go through our expenses. This top portion that we're looking at, this is our mild to moderate. Children kind of categorized in mild to moderate versus severe. So we'll have kind of our salaries, for teacher salaries, aide salaries, and most of them follow the same process. Health insurance, worker comp, professional services, into supplies, and then textbooks and softwares. So you kind of see that. The biggest changes for this one is the number of aides that were needed for our mild to moderate. And then those are all local and state dollars, where this IDA, this is mild to moderate, but these are our federal dollars. And this supports 4 FTE teachers, or full-time equivalency teachers. So you can see their salaries, benefits, indirect costs. There's indirect costs associated with federal programs. The next portion is our severe. And then this shows kind of our salaries, state salaries, benefits associated with those, travel, equipment that are needed. And the equipment we purchase from special education has to be listed on the child's IEP in order for us to purchase through this program. The next portion is kind of our OB district. We have day programs, where you'll see we'll pay tuition to in our home or children's care for day services. We'll also have residential programs, so like a children's care. And so this kind of shows where our estimated amount for day programs is down quite a bit. But then our residential, and some of it was, there was a change in last year where people were shifted. So then this kind of shifts back to where we're sitting now. Those are all state and local dollars. The IDA, they'll pay $12,500 towards a residential program out of our federal dollars. So the total residential, these two, is at $215,000. That's probably the biggest shift in all of the special education, and then that is most years from year to year. We have our early childhood program. This is pre-compulsory age. We have a staff member in there, and then their services with that. And there's a small portion of this IDA down here, a small portion of federal dollars that covers that position. And then we go on the nursing services. This is nursing that's required as labeled by the student's IEP, or if they're at a residential service and they get ill or sick, then the nursing. And there's not a lot of that. Psych services, this is what we pay our co-op for coming in and doing psych testing and the services they provide. our speech therapist, and speech therapist is actually from 3 to senior, 3 years of age till senior, so it could be any students with speech services. There's 2 speech therapists in the district. And this is the amount associated with that program. We'll have, scroll down, we have physical therapy, occupational therapy. Our hours look like they'll be very similar next year, and then the hospital kind of informed us that the rate would be the same, so we left those the same going into this next year. Our administrative costs, with that, our director benefits the co-op. There's part of the co-op has the administration, and we pay our share of that from the member schools. There's our costs, for administration costs. And then our final one is the transportation. We run one full route and then another partial route. On there, we also do some transportation expenses, sometimes mileage paid to parents or others to transport the children of the district. So that's the special education fund.
Okay.
Our capital outlay fund, the top portion here, this is our revenues.
Do you want questions now or at the end?
Whenever, when you with special ed fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me get this straight. Is there like there's a reimbursement for special things from the state, like an emergency fund they have? Is that something like
Extraordinary cost fund, yep,
extraordinary cost fund?
yeah.
Did we receive any dollars from that?
We haven't, no, we have to, so you have to spend all of your reserve before you can go to extraordinary cost fund. And we've, as Madison, never had that issue or never done that before.
Reserves as far as your general fund reserves?
No,
or reserves
special
as your
education
special-
reserves.
So if we spend $194,000 out of our fund balance,
Yeah,
at what point, what's our reserve?
right now our reserves in about 390 some thousand. So,
Where was that number?
on our balance sheets, in the
Oh, okay.
financials page,
Gotcha.
if you look up kind of that cash area.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so, a lot of this though, like the
So it's 390 after the 194?
390 right now as of today.
Okay.
If this goes as planned, we would be down to just below that 200,000.
All right, and then when that runs out, how much can you take from the extraordinary cost fund?
You apply for whatever it takes to get to 0, and then whether they grant it to you or not, that's a different question.
Okay.
Every year it's been full, they've been able to cover it fully, however, this last year, now was the first year they couldn't do 100%. But I think they did put
They-
some additional funds in this year.
Yeah. And with our big shifts are out of district placements, I always budget a month extra, so that's where our kind of cushion is, so it shouldn't be the full amount of the 190, it should probably be about 160.
Okay, thank you.
Just as
You
a-
can keep going now.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, going to extraordinary cost funds is quite a process, but we fortunately haven't had to do that before. And then going into capital outlay, capital outlay is mostly all from local tax levy. That's these top portions. We do have some grants. We got an E-rate grant for some equipment. We got that clean diesel bus grant for 2 buses. This is the portion they'll pay of those. And then we have marked in here, we have that early debt repayment where it's set 400,000 aside for the early recall of our high school debt. That's from the capital outlay fund. So that's our revenue, 2.3 million. The expenditure side, I think I can get them all to fit. We got their elementary program, middle school program, high school program. This is instructional pieces, so they'll have their textbook, software, this is all the curriculum purchases. Then there's their technology equipment, whether it's their Chromebook or monitors or things of that like. Then there's their general equipment, which can be chairs, desks, we can do phone systems, paging systems, things like that. What those are, so you can kind of see how of the 3 buildings. The library, this is books, and then it can also be databases in which you're just searching for things. That has to be general funds, but if when you search the materials in there, then that's a capital outlay. Technology in schools, this is our, most of this is the E-rate, some of it is update to a state server or something. I don't remember what it's called. And then this portion, the software, this is any software that's not classroom, but more administrative, sort of like our campus agreements, our phone system agreement, which is a software now. That's what most of those are.
The app, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Talented is being it's that one has to go jump like they're recruiting, but yeah. Our buildings upkeep of grounds, repairs and maintenance, large portion of this is the middle school chiller. With the non-capitalized equipment, that we had our capital committee meet and go through the list and then determine, what we prioritize things to. A number of them are capitalized and not capitalized. So that's kind of the pieces that we're looking for building grounds. Same thing with transportation. We can take capital for maintenance if it's a large dollar amount repair. So we put some in there for that because we seem to be having a few of those now and then. And then just general small equipment. And then this vehicle's license is the 2 buses, and then we're also looking at 2 vehicles. The state contract is out to bid now. It should open up here actually in early July, and then we'll know what vehicles and what prices, and we can take a look at that. Our printing and publishing, this is our copy. We have a copier lease, a printer lease, and a postage meter lease. Those are capital leases, and then that's the amount on those for the year. That's the hardware side of the lease. Our debt service, this is then just our debt service payments. What's principal, what's interest, what the full amount is. We have that energy efficiency loan from the state that we got, which has 0 interest. So our total debt service payment for this year is $670,000.
How many more years on that loan for the,
This, I believe, was year 6.
Okay.
4. I had it marked on the sheet, I forgot, but I'm pretty sure it's year 6. It'll be 4 after this.
of how many?
Of 10.
10,
Yeah,
okay.
10, yeah, it was a 10-year loan. It used to be, if you remember, we were paying debt payments of 1.2 million. So it's,
Yep.
we called some early, did some refinancing, so that's been good for us. And then the last portions here are the combined activities, so this is kind of your activities. So the large portion, there's small things, and the large portion is the band uniforms, and then recrowning of the practice fields are the two large in there. And I left the 0 in here just so the board's aware, we can use flexibility where we can transfer off capital to general fund. We don't do this. We haven't done that past, we haven't at this time, but that's where that would show up if we ever needed to do that.
What would you transfer for?
If you're not able to meet your obligation in general fund, you can transfer a percent of your capital outlay. That's just a transfer into general fund. So,
For any reason at all?
yep. So, and then we're to general fund. This one takes a lot longer than the rest. The orange portion, the bright orange, is the state formula. So you'll see our tax portion and the state aid, those two combined to make the state formula. The less bright orange, that's the other revenue. So in the state formula they have where you get your other revenues, but then they take them out of your state formula and equalize them. So those ones, bad English, those funds get equalized. Sorry. So you'll see the beginning portions are all our local dollars that we bring in, all the 1,000s, and the 2,000s are the county, the 3,000s are the state, and the 4,000s are federal. You can see where we get our different funds from. Not a lot changes from last year to this year on that. And this shows a fund balance usage of $345,000, which isn't uncommon. Last year's been pretty good. The prior year before this was, I believe it was $349,000. So similar to that year.
What are Title IV funds, Mitch?
Title IV are somewhat new to us. We'll hit them as they go down. Is that
All
okay?
right, that's good.
Because they've changed quite a bit, so I was going to kind of show that one. So I'll quick scroll down. The first one we'll look at is our elementary function. So in the elementary building, this is everything that's instructional. So the teacher salaries, the aide salaries, temporary is subs and long-term subs. The benefits, Social Security, retirement, health insurance. Well, and one thing I want you to notice is how much health insurance changes from year to year, and how we went from like 110 to 152 to 137. And you'll see it amongst each of these functions. It's amazing what changes occur with that, and that's part of our accountability is what we're matching. So it's just kind of interesting. Otherwise, we took supplies up a little bit in all of the functions. So that's the elementary. In the elementary, there's also some federal dollars, which is our Title II class reduction. So this is a staff member that's paid for out of Title II. So our total elementary is for $1.871 million. Our middle school function, you can't see that goes in the same order: salaries, the benefits associated with professional and technicals, And a lot of that pressure, like the technical E-rate testing, our tie register, or tie dues, things like that. And then there's supplies. So the middle school is 1.191. Then we go to high school. You can see their salaries, benefits. They didn't actually have much of a change in health insurance, where middle school and elementary did. Funny hours with some of them. And their supply change, there's the high school portion. Those three funds are the lion's share of the general fund. We'll kind of go through. This is our Perkins dollars for next year, just kind of how our staff allocated it. Very similar stuff each year with Perkins. Title I is a federal program within elementary that works with math, reading, breaks students into smaller groups, and you can see the salaries, benefits with that, and we get reimbursed federal dollars for that. The law enforcement down here at the bottom, that's changed a lot over the years. When the county pulled out from the agreement, then the city and the school have to pick up the differences on those. So this is our portion increasing each year. The city gave us a little bit of a step-in process to pick that up. So we've been doing that each year.
And that's at the max now, we're at the 50, or where we'll be, or?
Yep, it'll still change, because as that pay on that position changes, we still
Yeah.
pick up our percent, but we're at the max percent, yeah.
Okay.
Correct. The counseling, we have two counselors within the district. That's our salaries, benefits, supplies, things associated. We moved a lot of the stuff they were doing for the small postage and that, we moved into the high school function. To just keep it cleared up, because a lot of it was instructional. Health services, this is another one that changed a bit. This is we do have some county health nurse services, and then this is also our nursing agreement with the hospital. And so we brought that into this year, and you'll see the amendment we'll consider later. And this is the projected spend for next year on there. So the Title IV, that's academic enrichment, and so we've been using that for our NWEA program. And this next year it was proposed to add the science to that. And then there's still some funds available that aren't allocated for anything academic enrichment. And that's kind of being discussed now, what might use for that. But we were granted $21,000 for this year, which was pretty nice. And so we would spend it, and then we could get reimbursed through a federal program. Improvement instruction, that's our curriculum development piece. Library services, and so then this is the salaries and benefits, and then the supplies and databases and things that are associated with the general fund, the library. Our technology in school, this is our tech department, and then it's things outside of the instruction. So if we're buying a Chromebook, that's in the instruction, so that comes out of the instructional side. This is things that go more into the servers and the backbone of the technology world. Here's our Board of Education. We did move some of our, what was the one you said? For the personnel that we, Talent Ed. Talent Ed moved into the Board of Education, and that's moved to us and into the superintendent. So you see some of these items changed a little bit with a few of those software changes. We have our election services, if we hold an election. Our legal services, our audit services. We moved commencement into the high school function. A lot of purchases we can do into the instruction. If it qualifies for instruction, we can get reimbursement rates on Medicaid for portions of it, so we want to start recording some of that stuff into our instruction. We have our superintendent's office and his assistants. And then a lot of the phone systems and notifications and a lot of postage comes out of that line item, it comes from district office. We have our principal's offices. The state has it combined all in one, so all the principal's offices and assistant principals are located here. You can see the differences. We do expect with our new phone system that our phone system charges will go down quite a bit. We don't know exactly how, so we didn't record that change yet within this year. We pay the co-op director portion. There's some of it that comes out of special ed, and some of it has to come out of general fund, so this is the split from general fund. Medicaid admin fee, the state hires a company to do Medicaid on behalf of the schools, and that would be our share of that fee. This is the fiscal services, so this is business office with Diane, Marlis, and myself. the services, the audit agreements, printing and binding and supplies and things like that. Our upkeep for buildings and grounds, is our director and assistant director, and then our custodians, and then this I'll also have like our electricity, water, sewer, natural gas. That held pretty steady. We did see a pretty good bump in our maintenance in the last year, and into this year it seems to be holding our, as our buildings, the elementary's 13 years old. So they had a little more maintenance than they'd had in the past when they were a newer building. Transportation, we're getting close, guys, we're getting close. Transportation, this is our transportation department. There's the director out there, our bus drivers, and then route drivers and activity drivers, and salaries, benefits associated. There's repairs and maintenance with that, supplies, our fuels, our vehicle insurance, on that. We have our printing, so there's the part of our lease agreement, there's for toners and staples and things like that. Our papers comes out of there also. We usually order between 7 to 9 pallets of paper within a year. The newsletter we moved into the school board and the superintendent. Placement service, the same thing, into the school board and superintendent. Instead of having these small line items around. The next section is our non-public school student services. So like if we purchase a curriculum, the non-public schools can get that same curriculum. And then we have to cover that. Title II sharing, so federal dollars that we share with our private schools. There's an allocation which we need to split out in our Title I dollars. So there's 16,000 that is allocated towards non-public school students. Foundation office, we split the director fee 75%, 25%. This is our 25%, and it's stepped down and it holds now at 25%. Unemployment, we pay on a claims basis, so as the claim happens, we make payment to that. So we have a dollar amount in there. Co-curricular activities, before I had them all separated, I kind of put them together because it's, as a whole, it was 300 lines. And it's really only 5 to 5.5% of the budget, so I kind of just combined them together. So you can see the change in salaries. We had our agreement changed, and so the change in salaries, the benefits associated with those, professional, technical, supplies, medical supplies. You can see what the change was in the co-curricular as a whole. And then we have our contingency, and then we'll kind of address that as we are looking at contingency transfer, but that's used for if any line item comes in not so well. So that's 8.422 million. Anyway, yep.
Are homeschool kids included in that non-public school?
No.
The increase in the nurse cost,
Okay.
did that have a decrease in other areas, or was it just quality of care?
There.
Like, did you save money from
what our-
busing kids to the hospital to get to get whatever medicine they
We
need?
had some nursing hours prior, but usually we had multiple buildings, so we probably saw a decrease, but it's probably only like a few thousand,
Okay.
from where our hospital here was before.
It's just convenience now.
Yeah,
Is
and we
there somebody
have to have somebody available, yeah.
Because some of the needs we had, yeah.
Yep, all right.
So that, we don't need a motion on the hearing, that's just our budget as presented. I do have,
A request, though.
what's that?
You have a request?
No,
we're
so,
not.
well, this was the notice that published that shows all those same numbers that we just went through, breaks them out by local, county, state. This is the legal requirement for a breakout. And then for the next one, so if you're okay concluding the budget hearing?
We are,
Okay.
and you did well, Mr. Brooks.
That's my fastest one we're at. But I think I hit the highlights. The next portion is our budget resolution. And what this shows, it shows the dollar amounts of what each fund, what the budget is, in this line, or in this paragraph. In this paragraph, it'll show them what our request is in levy, and the reason there's like differences between some of them is the taxes are levied on January to December, and our budget runs from June to July, or July to June. So there's always a little bit of difference to make last year's, this year's, and next year's, work within our budget. Just kind of shows what our, I guess I could quick go through the state sets these mill levies for the general fund, the 1.4, the 3.2, and the 6.8. The special ed levy, there's a range that we have to be within, to receive state funding. We're not at the max, we're like 0.1 below that. Pension fund is no longer there. Capital outlay fund, now we request in dollars, we can't do it in the levy anymore. This is actually the exact same dollar amount we requested last year. And then the bond redemption fund, is to make that payment that we showed for 438, and so it's a little higher because we gotta do half of last year, half of this year to make that payment. And then our opt-out is in here for 100,000.
So then we would need to have a motion to approve the property tax request. Okay, Mrs. Schultz, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cecil. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the 2019-2020 budget and property tax request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that it is passed.
There is no way that this is really done in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, I was given a timeline, I worked hard to beat it.
Good comment, Mr. Miller. On to item number 16, and we have a supplemental budget, Mitch.
And so what this is areas of the budget that we set that didn't stay very close. We want to make sure we address those, and we kind of explain why and the changes. And so if you look on here, there wasn't like a lot of big changes. Like our nursing services, we added that contract last year. And so then our budget prior that was 5,200, so then it moves up to 35. So we use our contingency fund to make that transfer to cover 30,000. That was our budget with our expenditures. Then the other piece is the building and grounds, the maintenance repair. Like we were mentioning, there was a lot more repairs as building, like the elementary building started aging. There we had less in the middle school because we did a lot of that work on the system a few years ago. But I hope we don't see a lot of growth in there, but it has in the last few years. So those would be our contingency transfers. And as far as our supplemental budget below, the middle school got an EPSCoR grant this last year for equipment. The total price of it came to like 32,000, but the grant was for 30,000. We had to do our match, and that was what that 2,000 was. So we'd be looking to adjust our revenues to 30,000, our expenditures to 30,000 to reflect that receiving of that grant.
So we need a motion then to approve the supplemental budget.
So moved.
Mr. Hanemichael makes that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the supplemental budget for the 18-19 school year, signify by saying aye.
Right?
Opposed, nay. Declare motion is passed. Number 17, Mr. Brooks again.
So for the food
You are on a
service,
roll tonight.
this one, we're, with the way our food service contract is very good to us. We've had good participation with our students, and we don't want to recognize revenue in the food service. We want to be a break-even fund. So our recommendation would be to keep rates the same, and just kind of thought I'd read out kind of where our rates are now. A student lunch is $2.70. A student breakfast is $1.60. Adult lunch is $3.60. Adult breakfast is $1.75. Last year we reduced our second entrees from $1.70 to $1. So if someone comes back and they request an entree, it's $1. A yogurt is 75 cents, and extra milk we reduced that also from 45 cents to 35 cents. So if student packs the lunch, they can get milk for 35, or if they need extra milk, it's 35. So we kind of made those changes just to keep our fund from growing, and we've done those free days kind of along that same line too. For that, so our recommendation would be to keep rates the same into this next year.
So administration has recommended that we maintain our current rates. So there be a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Mr. Hanemichael, second.
Second.
And Mrs. Schultz. Further questions or discussion? I think that's a good idea. I think we're doing well with that lunch fund. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare passed. Fuel.
So our fuel bid, closed on Friday, and what we do is we bid a margin, so every day in Sioux Falls, there's a state bid that's done. And so then we use that bid as ours, but we bid a margin, so our local, suppliers will bid, which I don't have it up there, cause we just got them, but they'll bid a margin above that, so if it's $1.70 down there, they'll add their, say, 5 cents per gallon to that, and that's what our price is delivered. And so we had two that bid, Coles Petroleum and F&M Co-op. For diesel, Coles Petroleum bid a 4-cent margin, F&M bid a 10-cent margin. For ethanol and unleaded gas, Coles bid a 3.75 cent margin, and F&M bid a 6-cent margin. So Coles was the low bid on that. So our recommendation would be to accept the bid proposal from Coles Petroleum.
So
Motion by Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hanamichael. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the Coal Petroleum budget or bid for fuel purchases signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that's passed. Item number 19, consider moving the date of the board meeting to Thursday, the 11th of July.
And that has to do more with, 4th of July falling right at the end of the week and the business trying to get the bills and everything in and on time, so we could have, like, plus we also have the cleaning going on in the offices at that time. So that's why we're looking at sliding it back.
move to approve.
Mr. Nelson has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Schultz.
Speed round's coming up.
You still get to come for one more, Leah, for a short one though. It's a short one. On there. Any further discussion?
I will not be here that day.
Yeah, you'll be in, well, we won't say where, but anyway, we understand that, Mr. Hanamichael. We understand that. Take your sunscreen with you.
I will.
All right. All in favor of moving the meeting to the 11th of July, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare motion is passed. And Chuck or Sue, do you have any questions you want answered yet?
Any questions?